Hello, I am the Reverend Karen G. Johnston, and I have the great pleasure to serve the Unitarian Society, a Unitarian Universalist congregation. You can find us in East Brunswick. My pronouns are she and her. And this summer we join together in the spirit of renewal. May we all feel a deep and abiding connection to our interdependent nature and to that web of existence of which we are a part.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Anne Marie Alderman. She, her, hers. I serve the congregation that used to be in Plainfield, now in Fanwood, First Unitarian of New Jersey, and the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Somerset Hills, located in Somerville. This summer we join together in the spirit of renewal. May we actually come together as congregations in New Jersey, reaching out to each other.
Hi, I'm Reverend Alison Miller, she, her, hers, and I serve the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. This summer, we join together in the spirit of renewal. May we grow more creative, compassionate, and resilient in this time of reimagining and reconstructing how we build our communities and our faith.
Hello, I'm the Reverend Andre Cornelia Mall, pronouns she, they. I'm the minister from Central Unitarian Church in Paramus. This summer we join together in the spirit of renewal. May we take this time to reconnect with what is important in our lives. And may this nourish our spirits for the days ahead.
Hello, I'm Tuli Patel, she, her, hers.
Reverend Robin Tanner, she, her, hers. Reverend Emilie Boggis, she, her, hers.
Together, we are the leadership team at Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Summit, New Jersey.
This summer, we join in the spirit of renewal.
Together, may we magnify Unitarian Universalism
and be a beacon unto the world.
Hello, I'm Reverend Anya Samler-Michael, she, her, hers.
I'm Reverend Scott Samler-Michael, he, him, his.
This summer, we join together in a spirit of renewal.
May we honor the 8th principle of Unitarian Universalism, which calls us toward a beloved community of equity and inclusion.
Which calls us to dismantle systems of oppression.
Which calls us home.
I am the Reverend Craig Rubano, he, him, his, minister at the UU Congregation of Monmouth County.
I am Michelle Mackenzie Creech, she, her, hers, Credential Director of Family Ministry.
And I am Louise Chernosky, she, her, hers, Music Director.
This summer, we join together in the spirit of renewal.
May we create multi-generational community.
Finding multiple platforms for our connections.
So that all might live into the awesome, diverse power of we.
the Reverend Alison Miller, and I serve this congregation as its senior minister. We are so glad you're here. I have a few announcements to share with you today. Here are 2 upcoming events. Charles Laughlin will lead a workshop called Beginning a Conversation About Privilege, Power, and Difference on Wednesday, August 4th from 7 p.m. to 8:45 p.m. on Zoom, and a second in-person option on Sunday, August 22nd from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. You'll find more info in the July-August newsletter, and you can register by emailing intern@muuf.org. If you're a visitor, then I invite you to join me and our welcome team for an orientation and tour on Sunday, August 22nd, either at 10:15 a.m. on Zoom that day, or for an in-person lunch and tour on August 22nd at 12:30 p.m. You can RSVP at welcome@muuf.org and let us know your name and which tour you'd like to attend. A couple of notes about today's service. It's one of our 4 collaborative services being put together by a number of our New Jersey UU congregations. Today's service is co-led by the Reverends Robin Tanner and Emilie Boggis, who serve at Beacon. We're alternating between these collaborative summer services and Charles Laughlin, our summer preacher. We hope you enjoy. Today's offering will be split 50-50 between our fellowship and Wind of the Spirit, an immigrant collective engaged in advocacy, community organizing, and direct service. You can give by going to our website, by text, or by mailing in a check. Thank you for your generosity. Let's open our time with the following affirmation. It is good to be. It is good to be here. It is so good to be here together.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here, one strong body, spirit drawn near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the body, spirit draw struggle and the power, gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the body, spirit draw struggle and the power, spirit draw near, spirit draw
When the Unitarian Universalist Association's Commission on Change released Widening the Circle, our congregation, like many others, felt a call to deepen our commitment to anti-racism.
We revisited our covenant, we adopted the 8th principle, we began a nonprofit to decolonize wealth.
And yet we wondered about our internal structures, how we made decisions, who got to be a leader, where power resided.
Together, with the support of Julica Herman de la Fuente and resources like Widening the Circle, we committed not only to a racial justice that was outward-facing, but also an inward examination of our structures to build an anti-racist, inclusive beacon. We formed our Widening the Circle team, of which we are shared leaders.
As Reverend Dr. Sophia Batincourt reminded us at the Service of the Living Tradition in 2018, we are on a journey toward redemption. We have lived a year filled with lamentation, with the strength of generations, the failures of the everyday, and the deep down, gritty messiness that is the promise of our salvation. There is inherent goodness that exists between and among us. I want to honor the weary, ragged miracle that is our living tradition.
And so we kindle this light now with gratitude to the many Unitarian Universalist communities in our country and world, widening the circle, and in so doing, honoring the weary, ragged miracle that is our living tradition.
Hi, I'm Tuli.
Hi, I'm Jermaine.
Today we'd like to talk to you about why and how we do the things we do. Like we have so many choices, but we sometimes do something even if it wasn't our top choice. Jermaine, has that ever happened to you?
Like having to dance when my favorite song comes on? Like that?
A little bit, but more having to do with other people. Like, why do we show up to a birthday party or a backyard barbecue, even though we might not have wanted to? And I also mean, have you seen or heard something unfair or unkind being done?
Yes, absolutely. I actually found out about these unfair things because I showed up and I listened. And then when I discovered what wasn't right, I had to speak up. If I'd stayed at home, I'd never known about some unkind or unfair things that were happening around me.
It's what we do as Unitarian Universalists, right? Our second principle calls us to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. If we didn't show up, we would know what those things were. So we show up because we never know when we might be needed or who might need us.
That's right. I show up like the Freedom Riders did in 1961.
I've heard about them. John Lewis was one of them back in his college days,
Yes,
right, Jermaine?
He was.
Tell us more about the Freedom Riders.
The Freedom Riders were civil rights activists, students, and other young people who participated in bus trips through the southern part of the United States to prove that the 1960 Supreme Court decision, which said black and brown people had to use different seats on buses, bathrooms, and dining facilities while they were traveling, was against the Constitution. Some of them might have even been scared of what might happen, but they showed up for one another anyway, because they needed each other. One time, the Greyhound bus they were on was even bombed, and the riders were attacked and beaten. But the world began to pay attention, and in the fall of 1961, under pressure from President John F. Kennedy, the Interstate Commerce Commission said all people could use any bathroom, eating facility, or sit wherever they wanted while traveling on and waiting for buses, trains, and other forms of public transportation. The Freedom Riders had won. This is the work we're called to as Unitarian Universalists, to put our beliefs and our values into action as we continue to learn and evolve while we journey together in faith and service. And we show up, even though we might not want to.
And so this is our invitation to you over the next few weeks. Even if you don't want to go to that birthday party or the backyard barbecue, go, because you never know who might need you, and you never know what might be needed of you. Bye.
Bye.
Good morning, Unitarian Universalists in New Jersey and out in the world. I'm the Reverend Emilie Boggis, and I wanted to invite you into Beacon's Sanctuary for this ritual of kindling light. So I hope that you will forgive that it is raining outside, which I'm sure you can hear. And I'm the only one in here right now, so I'm sure you can hear some echoes. But I thought it was important for you to come into our sanctuary with me. Let us kindle our lights. Each Sunday, we know that you show up carrying all that's in your heart, and our hearts are full. We are carrying joy and sorrow, celebration and grief. Life is full, beloved. And so through this ritual of lighting candles, something so simple, we invite you to bring all that is in your heart. Don't leave your heart behind. We are your community, and we know that when a sorrow is shared with a community, it is halved. And when a joy is shared, it is doubled. So bring the fullness of your heart this day. Maybe you are lighting a candle to celebrate your first real vacation in 16 months. I know I am. Maybe you are kindling a light because the pandemics are continuing to keep you separated from the people you love. I am too. Maybe you are lighting a candle to set an intention for yourself to show up in new ways now that the pandemic is in its later stages. Maybe you are kindling a light because showing up in new ways requires facing bad habits or asking for forgiveness, or it requires accountability. Maybe you are lighting a candle of peace both within yourself and one for the larger world. Maybe you are kindling a light of gratitude this day, changing your perspective from, oh my gosh, nothing is going right this morning, to looking for the small ways and maybe big ways that life is precious, even in the midst of the things that are going wrong. You are welcome to light a candle in your home and to lift up a name, somebody that you love, somebody that you want to honor, somebody that you are remembering. Lift their name up in the chat so that we may carry them and bring them into this community. As we begin the kindling of lights, we draw attention to the thousands who have died from COVID-19, thousands, millions, from climate collapse and extreme weather, and from police brutality. We recognize the impact of these traumas and the grief to their communities stretched out across the world. And we hold a moment of silence to honor the lives lost, to honor the surviving communities, and to repledge ourselves to making lasting change. May this ritual of kindling light, something so simple, may it offer us solidarity with one another. May it inspire us, and may it help us make meaning of our lives and of this world.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the I'm so tired, I can't sleep, standing on the edge of something much too deep. It's Funny how we feel so much, but we cannot say a word. We are screaming inside, oh, we can't be heard. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. So afraid to love you, more afraid to lose. I'm clinging to a past that doesn't let me choose. Where once there was a darkness, a deep and endless night. You gave me everything you had, oh, you gave me life. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memories. Weep not for the memories.
Beloved, I invite you to join me in a meditation where we show up for our breath. We are mindful of our breath. We are not trying to control it or manipulate it. We breathe naturally, whether our breath is long or short, whether it is deep or shallow. We are mindful. This is a meditation taught by Thich Nhat Hanh in the heart of the Buddha's teaching. Its beauty is its simplicity. You don't have to be good at meditation. You simply show up to your breath, which is happening all of the time. And you can take this meditation with you into your week. When you've forgotten to show up to yourself or to another person or to the present moment, you return to your breath and the mindfulness of it. So let us begin. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my in-breath is becoming deep. Breathing out, my out-breath is becoming slow. Breathing in, I feel calm. Breathing out, I feel at ease. I am not struggling anymore. I feel at ease. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release my worry. Breathing in, I dwell deeply in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel the wonder of this moment. In and out.
deep and slow, calm and ease, smile and release, present moment, wonderful moment. This is our meditation, showing up for our breath in the minutes and hours and days of our lives. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Mia Morse, and I'm a member at Summit Beacon. I'd like to talk to you this morning about connections and the power of connections and why you should give this morning as you are able. Blessed by Our Connections by Reverend Susan Carlson. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the spirit of life. Walk lightly that you see the life that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and you could dance through the air. Feel the joy of the breath in your lungs and the fire in your heart. Live to love and be a blessing on this earth. Beacon is my home, but I will be weaving the names of our 21 incredible congregations into this talk this morning. Summit Beacon, UU Montclair, Fanwood, First UU Essex County. These are congregations that have always supported me and been part of my life. Thank you to the board at Beacon for sending me to my first General Assembly in Salt Lake City, and it's been a wild ride since then. I've been very involved in the Metro District as the president, the region, the UUA, and Black Lives UU. Most recently, I am serving on the Religious Educational Credentialing Committee, affectionately known as RECC, where I've met so many DREs and lifespan faith development professionals that are entrusted with our children and our lifespan in faith. It's been quite an honor to serve, and I am so forever grateful to UU Princeton, Morristown, UU Congregation of the Palisades, Ted Fetters at Princeton, and he's the one who made the ask, would you please serve on the Metro Board? And I said yes, the power of connections. Unitarian, East Brunswick, Tuss, Washington Crossing, UU Cherry Hill, Central Unitarian in Paramus, UU Ocean County. Incredible congregations, leaders, congregants, ministers, all people that have served on the UU Faith Action Board, been involved in my life, and I am forever grateful. Skylands UU, UU Monmouth County, in Lincroft, Somerset Hills, UU Hunterdon County, UU Sussex County, Dorothea Dix UU, and Lakeland UU. Please visit virtually and in person to experience the power of connections. That's what I plan to do when we finally emerge from all of this. So I urge you this morning to give as you are able. It's so important to support our faith and what can be and what will be to help others. Thank you.
this precious day, for all gathered here, and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
I grew up in a family of secret keepers. It had been passed generation to generation, and for a long time, I kept secrets too. Big secrets, hurtful secrets. The first time I encountered someone who was open about what could have been a secret in my family, I was in college. I was at a party and I asked someone if they wanted a drink, and they said, "No, thank you. I'm in recovery. I'm an alcoholic." The shock to my neurons was palpable. I had never encountered anyone who just told the truth as clearly, especially a truth that where I came from could have been a source of shame. Over the years, I encountered more and more folks who had this sense of truth-telling and ability to be liberated from their secrets. If I'm honest, though, still all these years later, whenever I talk about my experiences as a childhood abuse survivor, I have a visceral reaction that makes me want to be silent, to flee, to disappear. Our culture gives remarkable power to shame and places an incredibly unhealthy emphasis on perfectionism, with few models of what it means to recovenant, to come back into relationship after harm has been done, a wrong committed, or a break in relationship. I know personally that shame can keep us from showing up in our own lives and in the lives of those we care about most. Unchallenged shame can shape generations and communities. It can lead us to question our own power or never even know it. I know this as an organizer as well. Collective shame and oppression can shut down the imagination for a better world. For the last few weeks, maybe you've heard that people are gathering in states across the country and in Washington, D.C. to rise up for voting rights, for the people's voice in their own government, and for the People Act. They are engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience and are being arrested. When I was first an organizer, we had a practice in movement spaces that continues to this day in many circles, that after someone was arrested for nonviolent civil disobedience and we were waiting for them to be released from the jail, as they were released, we would shout out, "Thank you, we love you, we need you." Coming from jail, the carceral mindset needs immediate challenge, you see, because the bars are a small physical manifestation in truth of a far more insidious system. Thank you, we say. We love you. We need you. I recently had a good friend, Jay, who shared with me that he's been struggling for nearly a decade with a drug addiction. We were texting late one night because children and jobs, and that's how we catch up in our friendship. When he shared with me this struggle. He was about to have some tests, and he was particularly worried about whether he had done some permanent damage to his body and whether he had hurt his family, his ability to be a parent. I didn't say much in response to Jay's text, except asking about test results and quickly diverting to a conversation about the kids. But over the next few weeks, I kept trying to call him, to reach him, left voicemails, sent text messages, but I couldn't get a response. At last, he called me and said he was feeling better. And then he said, "You know, I wasn't really ready to tell you." Instantly, I thought of all the times when I've had to tell a hard truth, when I've had to open a secret, how I felt, how ashamed, and how I questioned myself for days after saying it. "Jay," I said, "if you waited until you were ready to tell me, you might never have told me. I'm glad that you did. And I want you to know it's okay to not be okay with me. And I hope it's okay when I'm at my worst. I can still reach out to you." I hung up the phone and I thought, gosh, I wish I had told him the moment he told me that I was glad he told me. Even now, all these years later, I have to remind myself that it is good and right to tell secrets, to tell them out, to release yourself. It is vital to eradicate the shame, because on the other side, I know, is life. This truth is taught again and again in the world's religions. From the Buddha who instructs the woman who is grief-stricken at the death of her son to go and find a mustard seed from the house that has not been touched by grief, instructing her to expose her pain, to tell her story to the community. It is found in the story of the woman with a bleeding condition who dares to reach out as an unclean woman in the culture and grab the hem of Jesus' garment, and who is rewarded for her courage and healed. We are told that when we show up as we are, most especially when it is in the fullness of our humanity, when we are less than perfect, that it is then that we find healing and we begin to build beloved community. My daughter started soccer recently, and about halfway through the season discovered it really wasn't for her. There wasn't anything particular. She was actually good at it. She just didn't like it, and so she didn't want to go to the last few games. But I sat her down and explained to her, look, if you stop showing up for the end of this season, it might mean that your team isn't able to play a game because they won't have enough players. You can quit as soon as the season's ended, but you've got to finish the season. Deal, she said. Until we got to the last game of the season. And that's when she had our babysitter, Emilie, who took her to most of the games because they were on Sunday afternoons, call her other mom and convince her to let her not go to that last game. I didn't find this out until I was already en route to the game to see the last bit of her final game. And when I found out, I called Emilie, told her to get Ella dressed in all of her soccer gear and to meet me at the field. Well, as you can imagine, Ella was livid when she met me at the field. Even angrier when I told her that the time had been changed for the game, and so there was only 5 minutes left. Ella, I said, you have to explain to your team what happened. It matters that you show up because you promised, and because there's not really a good reason why you can't be here today. Hot tears started to run down her face as she walked across the field to meet her coach. And then something that neither of us could have predicted happened. "Hey, Ella," said Coach Matt. "Are you okay? We were worried about you. We're so glad to see you." Ella apologized, and I apologized for the time mix-up. She sat down for the last 5 minutes of the last game of the last season she'll likely play soccer, and afterward had a popsicle with everyone, and soon enough was laughing. The pandemic has radically shifted notions of showing up. For some of us, we suddenly could access our communities. We found perhaps also that we were willing to come to a meeting or a service in pajamas without makeup or fresh from being outside, sweat beads still dripping, hair unkept, chin hairs in place. No, I'm not speaking of anyone in particular. For others, it also meant a welcome reduction in the volume of harm, particularly for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as for those who are genderqueer, who are transgender or non-binary. Fewer interactions meant fewer aggressions. We are now transitioning again, having already made the transition from completely virtual now to multi-platform, and in some cases to in-person, in our religious communities, at the grocery store, workplace, or school. There is some anxiety, if I am honest, in my own being about this transition. Not just the technical pieces of being multi-platform, and not only the great responsibility of trying to navigate this as a leader in a complex pandemic with new strains of this virus emerging and potentially coming up again, and the impact, the ripples in our community. But I'm nervous for another reason. I'm finding myself anxious that we are going to go back to the way it was when coming to a Sunday service or a meeting or a gathering at the congregation often carried the burden of being perfect, of being put together, of having it all figured out without any struggles, secrets, or pain. I worry sometimes that this fragile vulnerability that we've crafted will be blunted by the force of capitalism and white supremacy that want to pull us back into a painful and unsustainable and harmful normal. But then I also remember how quickly we adapted in those early months and in the years now that are following. How resilient we can be. In the very early months of the pandemic, Rebecca Mara went viral on a Twitter thread when she shared her experience of going to the grocery store. She had her mask on and gloves and was headed into the store when she heard someone shouting at her from a nearby car. So she turned to see an elderly couple, she presumed, sitting in the car, motioning toward her frantically. She approached the car and they cracked the window about this much and explained. They couldn't get grocery delivery. They were panicked because they were nearly out of groceries, but they were equally panicked to go in the store, having heard the impact of the pandemic and COVID-19, particularly for elderly persons. They had no family nearby and didn't know what they would do if they got sick. They asked Rebecca, would she go into the store and shop for them? Of course, she said. They slipped her a $100 bill and their crumpled, carefully constructed list. When she returned with their food, they explained that they'd been waiting in that parking lot for 45 minutes before asking for help. Rebecca gave the couple her contact information and told them to please call her, and she would continue to do their shopping for as long as they needed. Showing up in the sense of being present as we are, not just physically or not even physically in some cases, but showing up, removing the secrets, shattering the shame, living into our very human and sometimes fragile selves can transform lives. Showing up and being aware of the people around us and who might be calling out to us can save lives. So I ask you, where are you called to show up this week? As a Unitarian Universalist, where will you show up and how? Showing up, I know, can alter generations. We can teach our children and each other how to show up, not physically but spiritually, whole and in all of who we are, even if hot tears are running down our cheeks, or we've just relapsed, or we can't believe that we are 45 minutes late, or we feel absolutely helpless. And there can be ones who take the list and do the shopping, who give a warm welcome and say, here is a popsicle. I'm glad you told us. Thank you. We love you. We need you.
I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. I've been downhearted. Yes, I've been downhearted. I've been downhearted, but I won't be down for long, 'cause I'm gonna be ready. Yes, I'm gonna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. I've been too long crying. I've been too long crying. I've been too long crying, Lord. I ain't gonna cry no more. Yes, I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. I felt tied to the ground. I felt tied to the ground, Lord. I felt tied to the ground, Lord. I'm getting lighter every day. Surrounded by midnight. I've been surrounded by midnight. I've been surrounded by midnight, but the sun's gonna warm my face. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me.
Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, in one of her blessings, closes with this wisdom. None of us alone can save the world, she writes, but together, that is another possibility waiting. Let's not wait, beloved. Go forth this week to love, to savor, to show up, and together to save this world. Amen. Blessed be.